Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Biddulph Town Council Planning Committee on Tuesday, the 16th of September, 2025. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Biddulph Town Council YouTube page. The aim is that decision-making should be transparent and in the public domain, which will involve more of our community and local democracy. By being in this council chamber, you are consenting to being recorded and for your image to be added to YouTube. The images and sound may be used for training purposes. Any views expressed are the speaker's own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Biddulph Town Council. Please review the guidance on recording and public meetings policy if you need more information. Thank you very much, everyone. So, agenda item 28, apologies and approval of substitute members.
No,
we're all present and correct. Wonderful, thank you. So, item 29, declarations of interest. Do we have any disclosable pecuniary interests and dispensations for matters to be covered in the meeting? I'll take that as a no. Any other interest? I'll take that as a no. Thank you very much. Okay. Item 30, the minutes. To approve the minutes of the Planning Committee held on the 15th of July 2025. These have been to Town Council. Do we need to go through them line by line?
No.
Can I have someone to propose these, please?
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Proud, of a second.
No.
Councillor Jones, show of hands, please, to accept them. Thank you. The only comment I would make on these is that there were two appeals. I think this is covered elsewhere in the agenda in terms of the outcome of the two appeals that were covered last month.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
No.
Well, it's just as a point. Just as a point of information that both of the appeals that were reviewed last month, where we agreed that there were no further comments on the original comments that we'd made, both of those appeals were granted by the whoever it is, the Secretary of State or whoever's the inspector. Okay, so that's just a point of information. You can have humble amongst yourselves for 30 seconds while I sign these minutes. The metaphorical, not a literal mumbling, please.
Yeah.
And Shepherd Street this morning.
Yes.
There you go.
Chief Officer. Okay, right. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 31, standing agenda item to consider any proposed sites for local listing. Now, we had some feedback on this, did we not?
It's quite nice to have lots of feedback, isn't it? So, in a previous meeting, we advised that the Conservation Liaison Panel would be re-established by the District Council, a range of partners, District Council representatives, and Councillor Garvey attended on behalf of this committee. Their role, I think, although I wasn't there, is to actually consider a number of conservation issues, but they also considered nominations for the local heritage register, which is what we had put in 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. So in terms of the outcome of that, we put in 1 and 3 Wharf Road. That's been recommended to go onto the local heritage register. Conservative and Unionist Club, same, has gone forward for recommendation. 54 High Street won't be included on the list. That I think is that's next.
That is I can give you a bit of information on this one. Essentially, we were requesting listing for what is left of the original Victorian town centre of Biddulph. Almost all of the elements were accepted or put in pending. The only one that was rejected was what is currently the takeaway, and the feeling was that that was now beyond the point of reservation.
Okay.
It's already been modified to the point with the rendering and the shop frontages that it's too late. But everything else on this side of that was accepted for local listing. The only one that was put on a pending position was the old butcher shop next door to what was the financial consultants building, and they would require going to look for more information from earlier pictures of the property to see if there is still sufficient because there has been some adulteration of the frontage with the
Yeah.
blue, the blue brick colour.
Yeah, so it says there, deferred decision, more research into original appearance, i.e. historical photographs. Again, to bring it back to a future panel. But we did get through the stone wall that's on Wharf Road there and the gymnasium that's on Wharf Road. So all of these are recommended for local heritage. As I understand it, they will then be recommended to Cabinet/Planning Committee for inclusion. So this is good news. We've got those moved forward. So if there's any other areas of Biddulph Moor, Biddulph North, wherever, to include for a future listing on the heritage register, then we can put those forward. Now that we're kind of a bit clear about a process, which obviously we waited for.
We do already have a number, I think, that are still pending on there, which include the section of wall going down Station Road.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not certain if the mill, the Albion Mill might be on there as well.
Already is.
I think it is already, isn't it? Yeah. In terms of being locally listed, it gives a degree of protection. It's not like proper listing in terms of, but it does give us a degree of protection within the planning process.
I wonder if it might be helpful. Oh, sorry.
Sure.
I was going to say, I wonder if it might be helpful if for the next meeting, we do a bit of an update on what the process is then, so that you know exactly what could be considered to go on the local heritage register. We kind of revisit the guidance they gave to us. Helps to kind of fine tune any future proposals, doesn't it?
I have got, so I think I've got three speakers, Councillor Kosicki, Councillor Jones and Councillor Yates. Councillor Kosicki, did you want to raise that?
Buildings, what's the situation with milestones? Because we've got a number of milestones along Congleton Road and I think one or two along Overton Road.
Have you got information on that, Councillor Pradler-Bauer?
Yeah, I was just saying milestones could be added to the local list if they're not already, they may already be protected, so might be worth.
Yeah, thank you for that additional information. Okay. Right, thank you, Councillor Kosicki. Yeah, Councillor Jones. Got you next. I saw you third, Councillor Yates. I will come to you. I haven't forgotten you. Councillor Jones.
No, just thinking about out loud really. I haven't considered this for quite a while, and just to be clear to anybody that's watching this, if we put it, as a site of special interest for local listing, it doesn't make it any more difficult for the householder to get. It's not like, grade 2 listed. It's not. It won't make it more difficult for them to, put an extension on, for instance, something like that. Just as I say, I just wanted to clarify that for anybody watching it, because I mean, somebody might think that would be the case. And just off the top of my head, just thinking for two or Biddulph Moor, the old welfare is one. The Sunday school, what was the Sunday school? Well, that was absolutely, big building. I mean, the owners have done a lot of stuff inside, made it really habitable, but they've kept the outside shape exactly the same, which is commendable. So that's one. And the other one is the old Royal Shop at the top of the Thought Lane on the corner of Top Road. That was a shop, and the sort of structure of the doorway is still there. That's another one we could think about maybe.
I think also
off the top of my head, really.
Also the police house.
Well, yeah, it's a 60s building, isn't it? But I don't see why not. Yeah, it's
one opposite next to the post office, I think, is referring to, not 1960s.
No, the original police house.
Yeah.
Terrace.
Really, any of the cottages on New Street, the stone ones, should fall under it because they are, they're Victorian and they're all pretty much the same.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor Yates, and I'll come back to you, Councillor Hawley. Okay, Councillor Yates.
Yeah, I'm certainly happy with the principle of it. I get a little bit concerned when you say things like Albion Mill, because you've really got to question whether it's fit for purpose as it is, and whether it's been maintained in a condition to make it recoverable in its present state. I mean, I've had issues over the last 7 to 10 days ago with people gaining access because it's poorly secured and the inside is absolutely shot. And I sometimes think that it did have planning permission for removal in some news houses before there, some terraced houses. So I'm sort of wondering, if listing doesn't do anything other than raise its profile, then is there a point on something like Albion Mill, which realistically is riddled with damp, riddled with rot?
That's the purpose.
Completely uneven.
That's essentially
wouldn't really attract money to
Essentially, the purpose of the review is if we believe that it has merit, then it will be reviewed. And as we've seen from this most recent review, some of the buildings were accepted, particularly things like the gymnasium, which has been in use as a gymnasium since its original construction, were considered to be appropriate, but buildings where it's beyond recoverable redemption, shall we say, were not. So that would be considered at the time, but there is also already a process regarding looking at reviewing the mills within Biddulph, which has been, I think, covered extensively within the press. Councillor Pratt, was that the comment you were coming back onto?
Just to reinforce my previous comment, it's already on the local list. It's not being put forward to go on the local list, it's already there.
Yes, I think actually that is I think it's another building that I think was in that pack.
Not more.
Okay, right. Okay, so Councillor Hawley.
Yeah, following on from what Councillor Jones said, I mean, when you sort of look at the older buildings in Biddulph Moor, potentially virtually the old part of the village pre-1960s could actually be included. I mean, you've got all the cottages, you've got the Rose and Crown, you've got Christchurch, and you've got Hilltop.
The other pub,
And
the Foxhound.
Foxhound, you've got the New Road Methodist Church as well. All these are old buildings and basically are all stemmed back, sort of back to the Victorian times in terms of Biddulph Moor. And so one would sort of think that virtually the old part of the village could actually be included in them.
I think that's entirely possible. So that may be something we want to bring forward at future meeting. Councillor Proudlove, do you want to come in on that one as well?
Just on that point, I think what you were saying, that you can actually make the case for the original core of the village to be a conservation area.
Consider as a future meeting, yes. Okay, right. Thank you. Any other comments on local listing? Okay.
Are we going to consider that a future meeting?
I don't know.
Conservation area.
The conservation area, I don't know. Do we need to put that on effectively on an agenda for a future meeting specifically? But would we need to do some work in advance of
I'd
that?
say there'd be quite a bit of work involved in looking at what that process is, wouldn't it?
In that case, would it be appropriate for you to take away, to investigate the process and then bring that as to the next
If
meeting?
there's a desire to do it.
Is there? Yes.
If I can just come back, I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to the local planning authority to determine whether it has status. All we need to do is just write to them to say, we consider the very centre of the Biddulph Moor is worthy of being considered be a conservation area. Then it's up to them to look at it, weigh it up, and come to a decision on whether they have to do a very specific assessment, something that we can't do.
They can.
And it's not our position to do, but we can certainly encourage them, let's say, to look at it if that's what town council desires.
So that could well be an outcome from here now. So actually looking now to the two councillors from Biddulph Moor who are most affected by this, is that something that you would like to see brought forward?
Well, I was just going to say, well, going back to my earlier points, making it a conservation area, that does sound like a planning restriction.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we've got to look at it from both sides, because a lot of cottages are very small, a lot have been extended and need to be extended for modern living.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put unnecessary restrictions on the residents of Biddulph Moor over and above what the normal planning restrictions would be. So whilst I like the sound of it, Dave, I do like the sound of Biddulph Moor. And you say centre, well, I mean, those cottages go out like a spider's web.
Yeah.
You're looking at pretty much the entirety of my ward would be a conservation. I think that might not go down very well. So we need to just keep that in mind.
Okay, in that case, can I suggest that rather than go down that route, that for the next meeting, if in the context of the Biddulph Moor properties particularly, if you want to come and bring some suggestions to for sites for local listing.
There's certainly one or two key buildings that Tom and David both mentioned.
Right.
If I can just come back, that may have an unintended consequence. If the Conservation Advisory Panel has a whole long list from Biddulph Moor of properties that may be suitable for local listing, they'll have a nice thing.
So think what you're, I think what you're, you're cautioning the level of ambition that may actually have unforeseen circumstances. So I would suggest in that case, if you could go away and have a look at that and come back with perhaps a few key.
I think one or two, but yeah, as I say, to do it for every Victorian cottage on Biddulph Moor is going to be.
Yeah.
So are you happy to take that away from this next meeting with some more formal proposals for site within?
Yeah.
Right. Are we happy for that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, right. Thanks very much. Can someone pull the blinds, please? Are these the new blinds or the old blinds?
The new one's coming.
Okay, I can. Right. The ones, yeah, those ones, please, Councillor Rogers. Okay, move on to the next one. Moving on to item 32, planning applications. We only have one planning application before us this evening. You should have received the details, SMD 2025-0372. Mr. and Mrs. Gattuso, 96 John Street. So demolition of an existing garage and an existing single-story extension and the construction of a new single-story side and rear elevation extension. There was no pre-application advice. It's basically demolishing the existing ground floor extension and a single garage. It's construction of a single-story extension to create a hall, study, utility room, and an enlarged breakfast room. The plans that have been submitted retain 2 off-road parking spaces for the property. The materials are existing brickwork and render, and the proposed brickwork to match. The roof, existing plain tiles, and the proposal is to match those. Windows and doors, again, UPVC and timber, and the proposal is to match them. There are no additional statements provided with it. It's not in the green belt. BNG is not applicable. The only 2 neighbourhood plan policies that are applicable to this are probably DES 1 and DES 2, design and public car parking and movement. In the context of those, DES 1, all the materials match and the design is consistent with the existing architecture of the property. And for DES 2, the layout, that say, allows for adequate off-street parking for the number of bedrooms required within the property. So my recommendation for this would be to send forward with no adverse comments. Anybody have any comments on it that they would like to make? Councillor Hawley.
Yeah, I quite agree with you that there are no adverse comments. The only thing I would like to add is that basically, because of the fact that the front of the property is basically, the look has changed and everything, and whether there's anything where you could actually put in subject to no adverse comments from neighbours, potentially. You know, it's sort of, was it no
valid neighbourhood,
no valid
concerns.
planning concerns from neighbours. Yeah, I think that's potentially the only thing I would actually add to it.
All the neighbours are on the list of consultees
Yeah.
for the planning application, so they will have been notified. But I think we're quite happy to put that in as an additional summary. Yeah. So is anyone happy? If I propose that is anyone happy to second that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Councillor Redfern, show of hands, please. Okay, no adverse comments, subject to no valid neighbour planning concern. Brilliant. Okay, moving on to consider we have had no supplementary applications. Nope. Okay, right. So looking at the decisions and notices received from the district council, in most cases where we have either deferred or recommended refusal, they've refused. Where with one exception, which I'd like to come on to in a moment. Everything else, I think, is very much in agreement with our recommendation. Obviously, we are really a consultee on this. The only one where I have concerns about is SMD 2025-0043, where we were proposing to recommend refusal or oppose the application because there were a number of concerns regarding car parking and access and our compliance with the neighbourhood plan. What I'd like to do is to refer that to the neighbourhood plan implementation team to review the arguments as to why the district council approved planning commission for something that we felt was in contravention. Councillor Hawley.
Just as a matter of interest, Jim, have you had a look at what the comments are from the district council in terms of why they've approved it?
I haven't, I'm afraid. I'm remiss in that respect, but I think it would perhaps make sense for it to. We did actually say, I think, at a previous meeting that if there was anything that we felt strongly about in terms of its non-compliance with the neighbourhood plan, then we would call it into the planning committee. But I don't think that that was the case for this application. So I don't think the ward councillors for the area called, but again, we'll be
Instead of looking forward to tomorrow's meeting, I would suggest then that we potentially refer it back to them and say, if this doesn't comply to the neighbourhood plan, can we actually ask you to change your mind on this? Because basically they're supposed to keep in with what the neighbourhood plan says. It's supposed to be part of the local document, and they're supposed to adhere to it.
They can't reconsider.
They can't go back on it. I think that even if it's basically broken rules that they haven't taken into consideration.
The neighbourhood plan is just one part of the development plan. If there are material considerations of wider, it's like saying, I don't know, it doesn't comply with a particular design standard in the local plan, but overall, the overall planning case means that they will not make a special case for whether it's a Biddulph neighbourhood plan or whether it's Chapley's neighbourhood plan. They're all considering the same basis. And the planning authority will not revoke a planning permission.
No, okay, I mean, on that basis, but the other side of it is that potentially the neighbourhood plan should have been considered. And effectively if they haven't considered it, we can actually pull them up.
Gentlemen.
Well, that's what the question we need to ask.
I think the suggestion here is to, as I say, to refer it back to the neighbourhood planning implementation team work group to review the comments and the permissions, why the permission was granted by the district council, and if we do have concerns, then we should raise that to the official channels that we feel that they're not.
Well, we've written to Ben Hayward a number of times before, haven't we?
So are you happy to take that on to the
Yeah.
essentially? So I'm proposing that. Someone second that, and we'll pass it on to.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So thank you. Okay. Don't need to take a vote on it. We're happy to do that. Right. Okay. So moving on to item 35, appeals. We have one appeal. This was it came to us previously. This is the land off Akesmoor Lane, Biddulph. I think that was in this one here, I think. I don't think so. So anyway, the land off Akesmoor Lane, which was SMD 2025-0202. We recommended a refusal at the time, requesting additional information to show compliance with all of the applicable neighbourhood plan policies. We had a whole list of comments in terms of a lack of reference to the neighbourhood plan requirements. I think Councillor Yates, you made some significant comments regarding the mining history of the site. So are we still happy that do we want to make any comment on the appeal, or are we happy with the comments we originally made? Councillor Yates.
I'm happy with the comments you originally made. It's interesting that the planning officers did actually pick up on the past industrial legacy and the fact that that hadn't been taken into account in the actual plan or the design. So that was actually quite refreshing that they really agreed with us. In some respects, it is a greyfield site because it is obviously post-industrial, and it's not like, you know, some of the old mine workings we've got, which are now grassy hillocks. It's always stayed in a very industrial format because it went straight from mining, which I think was a foothills mine down there off Akesmoor Lane, onto sort of haulage and storage and a skipyard, wasn't it? So it never actually went through that regreening stage, renaturalisation stage, which a lot of the minings have. So it definitely comes up to greyfield, but the plans were wholly insufficient considering the history of it being a skipyard. You don't know what kind of leakage, what kind of potential chemicals, waste or whatever, or the remediation of what was very shallow mine workings. There'd be no investigation. So I think our original comments very much done. Be interesting to see what the appellant thinks on that, whether it'll be approved subject to a series of stringent conditions or thrown out for a reapplication.
I think that looking at the reasons for refusal, it was in the last set of minutes that we had, it was considered that it would be detrimental to cause substantial harm to the green belt by reason of inappropriateness, harm the openness of the green belt. The land proposes a high risk to human health, and application does not address the full extent of the risks and demonstrate them how they might be mitigated. So yes, I think it would be interesting to see how that goes forward. Okay, so do we have any other comments on that? So we're happy that the comments that we made we still stand by those. Okay, right. Thank you very much. That in that case brings us to the end of the agenda, and I declare this meeting closed at 5:57. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you for all those joining us on